Examining the effectiveness of educational and support substance use groups on adolescents. Assessment and problem identification. The clinical setting for this evaluation takes place at a community mental health and substance use agency called the Family Resource Center, located in Sydney, Ohio. This branch serves a wide variety of clientele, but the majority of the services are tailored for adults. These services include counseling in groups, as well as case management and other related services. The agency noticed an increase in number of adolescent-age clients coming in with substance use issues and backgrounds, which caused a great concern. As a result, the agency decided that they needed to do more for this population because at that current time, they only had individual counseling to offer. The suggestion was made to offer an adolescent substance use group to help combat this problem. These clients were referrals from school and juvenile court, as well as CPS and assessments at the agency. The desired outcomes for this group were to increase the client's knowledge and understanding of substance use, including the long and short-term effects, as well as provide them with skills and resources needed to combat this problem. The questions asked will be whether or not these adolescents found the group to be helpful to them, as well as if their performance at school and in the community has increased. Another question that will be asked is what they found to be helpful and what is not, as well as what could be included in group to make it more beneficial for all. This is just important because of the fact that we want to know what would best help them in their opinion, as well as kind of gain an understanding of what they prefer. Planned intervention. The adolescent substance use group will be focused on providing educational and support on these clients with the substance use issues. The group is led by an LSW who has experience with the adolescent population. She actually specializes in child and youth services and has a wide range of therapies that she's able to use, but one of her most commonly used ones with the adolescent population is CBT. And there will also be a CDCA Phase 2 who is experienced in leading groups as well. We felt that, combining these two expertise would be good because the CDCA Phase 2 has extensive history in dealing with substance use, as well as dealing with groups and how that kind of goes, as well as the LSW, as I said before, has just a really good history in working with this population. The group is a 6-week curriculum that will focus on providing members with healthy coping skills and an understanding of long and short-term effects of substance use, as well as local resources to utilize and emotional support and exploration with CBT. The 6-week curriculum, each week is going to focus on certain things. Like the first week is going to be introductions and, kind of a overall look at what is substance use, why is this such a problem in our society, and, what are the long and short-term effects of these. The support and emotional exploration session is going to be led by the LSW. This is so that way she can provide some CBT therapy for them, so that way they can kind of understand how their thoughts and their feelings affect their actions in terms of substance use. There were 10 participants in this group. All were aged from 13 to 17, and all members also had a mental health diagnosis and substance use diagnosis. We did not initially plan for all members to have a mental health diagnosis, however, it just so happened to turn out that way, which was kind of interesting because it added for a little bit more layers to the intervention itself. Here is the logic model. This logic model basically explains the whole entire process that we went through in terms of what we wanted to get out, inputs, outputs, outcomes. So it was important to figure out the funding for this program, which luckily we had a great board called the Tri-County Mental Health and Substance Use Board. They offered to pay for the group sessions for all clients who are attending, so that way they did not have to cover costs. It was also important to look at trained staff and experience in terms of group therapy and case management and substance use, since that was kind of what the group is going to entail. Partnerships with local agencies for referrals. We ended up getting a lot of referrals from our agency itself just through the assessment process, which was actually pretty helpful too. And then for the outputs, we were developing and engaging activities to do in group that will educate as well as interest adolescents and help with their issues. We wanted to keep things engaging and fun. That's why we decided that the group for an hour would kind of help making sure that everybody's paying attention and not kind of drag on. We also offered transportation options as well. We have local resources like Dial a Ride, Shelby County Transit, things like that that the group members were allowed to use, so that way they could get there on time, and we could kind of combat the external factors of parents bringing their kids. And then, as I stated before, for the participation, it was just 6 weeks that these adolescents were supposed to come for an hour apiece. The short-term outcomes of this that we had hoped were to increase the knowledge of substance use effects, which we did later find out was affected, increase knowledge about substance use and coping skills and prevention strategies, which we also found was helpful and effective through the group, increase knowledge about the effects of substance use with comorbid disorders, which is something that we also were able to do in the group, and encourage the use of non-substances and increase positive attitudes about refraining from the use of substances. I would say all these short-term goals were pretty able to meet, apart from increasing the positive attitudes about refraining from substance use, because still, with how young this population was, many of them still had issues with vaping and tobacco, even the recreational use of marijuana as well. So for the medium outcomes, the number of adolescents in group engaging in prevention strategies will increase. That was a hope of ours. The number of adolescents in group using healthy coping skills will also increase, which was also a hope of ours. The adolescents will make conscious decisions when faced with choices of whether or not to use a substance. This was something also that we were able to at least install in them, that now they have that thought process of, is this right, or is this not, or is this, what is this going to do to me? I know what these effects are, things like that. The long-term outcomes were that adolescents were involved with group to continue to use previous strategies and healthy coping skills to refrain from using substances even after group is over. This is something that reported many group members were able to do, like using the healthy coping skills and refrain from using the use of hardcore substances such as benzodiazepine stimulants, things like that. And then the assumptions that we had for this were that adolescents will voluntarily come to group and participate. Because this was not a court-ordered program or mandatory, it was assumed that there would be times where some adolescents would not come to different sessions. So we made a backup plan in case if they were to miss a session, where the LSW would hold an individual session with them to cover what they missed from last week. The rationale. So the best practices for addressing this issue of mental health and substance use is counseling as well as groups. Substance use treatments for adolescents have been effective in achieving many important and behavioral, psychosocial, psychological improvements, including reductions in marijuana use, heavy drinking, positive and school-based adjustment. When examining the treatment outcomes for adolescents with comorbid disorders, it was found that comorbid youth reduced their drug use and other problem behaviors after treatments. However, the study also noted that hallucinogenics and to engage in illegal acts in the 12 months after treatment as compared with non-comorbid adolescents. Basically, these integrated treatment protocols are kind of what this study in particular is talking about, how you need to really have the use on both ends of substance use and mental health in order to be able to find the better outcomes. Ideally, school-based prevention programs would be well suited for general population of adolescents and those with higher risk of substance use. This is because when they're at school, they're able to get more attention and more care. They're there for an extended period of time, so they can implement these things into their schedules or things like that. Overall, most of the research that I had conducted suggests that programs along with appropriate counseling or therapy is most beneficial in decreasing the rates of substance use in adolescents. After reviewing this research, it is clear that a group that focuses on educational and social support would be most helpful in combating this problem. Since school-based prevention programs are helpful with this issue, it was determined that getting referrals from local schools for this population would also help to monitor progress after group concludes. This is kind of why we decided to partner with the local high school to see if we would be able to get any type of referrals from them that they noticed in children who were getting in trouble for substance use or behavioral issues that tied into substance use, things along those lines. The measurement plan. The outcomes that were measured were whether or not there was a decrease in substance use among participants during as well as after group ends, and if their overall negative behavior had decreased. It was also important to measure whether or not they understood the long and short-term side effects and basically their overall knowledge. The agency had a pre- and post-test survey that they currently used for their other groups, which is what we determined we would use for this group. We did tailor it a little bit to fit this specific adolescent substance use group. The survey kind of asked clients what they would like to get out of group and what they felt as though the group helped them with and what it didn't help them with. The pre-survey in specific, which the clients take during the intake process before group starts, asked open-ended questions regarding their current knowledge, again, what they would like to get out of group, things like that. The post-test survey was aimed at gathering clients' opinion about what was as well as not helpful in group, as well as to determine what the agency should continue to do in terms of services for this population. The reliability of the pre- and post-test surveys that are currently used within the agency is not very high, but is well regarded due to the fact that they use these surveys for every single group. The reliability can be skewed if participants are dishonest. And this is just something that happens. It's human subject error. We aren't able to know if people are being honest or not. People lie for a plethora of reasons, whether it's fear that they are going to get in trouble or they don't want to admit that something helped them when it didn't. So it's kind of difficult to determine if they are being truthful, which is why its reliability is not as high as what we would have liked. We did have no control or comparison groups as well for this because we did not want to take away services from any client, so we felt as though not including that would be helpful. The measurement plan continued. The data was collected from the time the clients were referred to group, as I said, through the intake process with the pre-test survey. And then the post-test survey was collected by group facilitators at the last session. There was also data collected by coordinating referral services of the participants to determine if they observed observations as well for follow-up. And any issues that would arise with the data collection would be due to human error more than likely, as I said, just because we don't know if people are being honest. And since the surveys are opinion-based, like I said, it is likely that some may lie or omit aspects of truth on the test. There may be also issues with referral sources being dishonest or not getting back to group facilitators regarding progress, which we did have issues with not being able to connect with follow-ups due to the COVID-19 issue because schools were shutting down, so we were unable to follow up with some of the school referrals. Evaluation design and rationale. The design used was the pre-experimental one-group design. This design was used to conduct a program-level evaluation on whether or not the groups are beneficial in combating as well as stopping adolescent substance use. The specific pre-experimental one-group design is a pre-test, post-test one-group design. Again, we did this so that way there would not be a control group and some clients would not be getting taken away from in terms of services. And it also gave the evaluator a better perspective and insight into the client's mindset after as well as before treatment occurred, which was helpful in determining progress. The threats to internal validity were, again, human subject issues and history. The issue of history can play a role in a client's willingness to participate depending on if they participated in groups before and they had a negative experience or view, which could ultimately skew results into their participation into this group. To address these issues, we did make the test anonymous so that way they did not have to worry about fear that we would know who said what, and this was also to help protect their confidentiality as well. Analysis. The visual analysis that was used for this evaluation is 2 double bar graphs that show the number of participants who have improved regarding their knowledge and awareness, as well as use as substance use group. The first double bar graph rates their knowledge and awareness as well as use before group by utilizing the results of the pre-test survey and after by utilizing the results of the post-test survey. The second double bar graph that you'll see represents the use of drugs before and after group. The findings from the first double bar graph show that before group, clients did not have a vast understanding or awareness of short or long-term effects of substance use. It also showed that clients reported they gained a better overall understanding and awareness of the short and long-term effects of substance use after group. The findings from the second double bar graph showed that before group, clients used substances at least twice weekly. After group, clients reported decreasing their use to less than or right at about 2 times weekly. And clients also reported that the substances used after group were tobacco and vapor-related products. As you see, here is the first graph. As you can see before, many participants rated their level of knowledge at 1 on a scale of 1 to 5, and then there were 2 that rated their knowledge at 2. So everyone increased to at least an understanding of 4 after group. And then for the double bar graph to represent the substance use before and after group, you can see that almost all clients, except for 3, reported their use at once a week. Twice a week. Sorry about that. Twice a week, and sometimes more. And then after group, many of them reported only using once a week, and that was tobacco vapor-related products. Bar graph can show that before group, clients did not have a vast understanding or awareness of the short or long-term effects of substance use. Findings also show that clients reported they gained a better overall understanding and awareness of the short and long-term effects of substance use after group. The second double bar graph shows the clients' use of substance weekly, which indicates that clients use substances at least twice weekly before group. After group, findings show that they decreased their usage to right at twice weekly or less than that. Clients reported that the substances used after group were tobacco and vapor-related products. Upon speaking with proper referral sources, they are also backed up from the ones that we could get a hold of that clients' reports of a decrease in hardcore substance use were true. Clients reported that they valued the sessions on emotional coping and local resources available to them. They also reported that knowing long and short-term effects of this was also helpful in making them not want to use substances. Conclusions, implementations, and lessons learned. The conclusions regarding the adolescent substance use group were that it is helpful to provide the population with knowledge and skills needed to combat the problem, as well as support and gain a better understanding of how to cope with emotions and feelings. Although there were no reported increases in substance use, it was proven that the program did not fully cease the use of substances among participants. However, the increase in the use of hardcore drugs such as cocaine, benzodiazepines, hallucinogenics, etc., was reported to have decreased. This information was used to determine what would be included in the next adolescent substance use group and what would not, as well as what the participants were not too receptive to. Due to the success of this group, the agency wants to recreate this group to be included into their services as an option for other agencies and officials to utilize when necessary. The next time I conduct another evaluation, I would try to find more reliable measures to utilize apart from the pre-test, post-test designs. As I said, these aren't necessarily unreliable. It's just that there is room for error and dishonesty, which can skew results. I believe it would also be helpful to include drug testing before and during and after as well, just so that way we can kind of find more accuracy and efficiency in their self-reports as well.